Welcome to Pennsylvania in Focus. I'm Anthony Hennon. Former President Trump returned to Pennsylvania for the first time since the attempted assassination of him in western Pennsylvania a few weeks earlier. Joining me today is the Center Square's Pennsylvania editor, Kristen Smith. Kristen, what was his rally like? How did people respond? What did Trump say?
Well, in a word, it was crowded. There were photos circulating on Truth Social of the massive crowd outside the farm show here in Harrisburg. And Trump immediately acknowledged that when he came on the stage Wednesday evening, and how he took a jab right at Kamala Harris, as to be expected, saying that he didn't need celebrities to pack his rallies. They just showed up. And then he referred to all the people in the crowd as the true stars, not, some of these famous performers that have come to Kamala Harris's campaign events in, the past few days. He also said a lot of other things that you would expect. He did reflect on the assassination attempt itself, and he spent a lot of time honoring the 50-year-old former fire chief that died, Corey Comparatore, and my apologies if I've said his name incorrectly. I've heard it many different ways at this point. There was also 2 other victims who were shot but have been recovering from their wounds. So he spent a lot of time reflecting on that and saying how appreciative and happy he was to be back in the state and that he would be going back to Butler, although he didn't give a specific date. From there, he launched into more of his traditional talking points. He was hitting Kamala Harris hard on immigration, on border policy, on criminal justice. He also had a lot of time or a lot of fun seemingly to poke at her rehabbed image over the last couple weeks since Joe Biden's dropped out. He said she went from being one of the worst vice presidents in history to Margaret Thatcher. So he's right back where he's always been with his inventive name calling and his very, what's the word? It's almost like he's in his own category of politician at this point because he's so biting and entertaining in his own right in a way that just continues to ignite his base and to grow it, quite frankly.
And did he comment at all about potentially who Harris's vice president would be, given that he was in Pennsylvania?
He didn't mention Shapiro by name, but the odds makers as of Thursday are really pointing to Shapiro as her VP choice. Now, he's kind of been in the short list for a while now. He's a popular governor in a key battleground state. There would be quite the symbolic nature of them winning versus Trump. And he's also a young Democrat who has ambitions of his own to run for president. It's kind of an open secret here in Pennsylvania. So it wouldn't be unusual for him to take this next step. However, he also has some baggage with him. He is very pro-Israel, which may alienate some of the progressive wing of the Democratic Party that has obviously a very anti-Israel stance amid the war in Gaza. And he's also been supportive of school vouchers in the past, and he's obviously not talking a lot about that now. But those are kind of the 2 issues that have become really an issue for him when it comes to being chosen as the VP. Now, there is some more credence to the idea that he's the pick because Kamala is launching a battleground state tour in the coming week. She's starting off in Philadelphia, and reportedly she will have her running mate with her. So, reading the tea leaves there, who else would be in Philadelphia with her except Shapiro? But don't quote me on it. It could be completely wrong. But, Shapiro and Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer, who said very plainly that she was not being considered. They were stumping for Harris earlier this week, and they spent the majority of the time attacking Trump, calling him dangerous and despicable and divisive and tying him to Project 2025, which, to be clear, is not his platform. But yeah, both sides are really just coming in hot with the personal attacks, and policy seems to be a distant second here.
And do we expect many more visits from Trump and Harris up to the election?
I think that's fair to say. Pennsylvania is probably, it's the state that Kamala Harris can't afford to lose. A lot of analysts are saying she needs to hold that blue wall in the north, which includes us, Michigan, Wisconsin, some of these Rust Belt blue-collar states. Kamala Harris has to carry all of those if she wants to win the election. So technically, President Trump could afford to lose Pennsylvania. Not that he wants to, obviously, but he could, and he could still win the election. So they're going to be here duking it out to get these votes. And given the assassination attempt, sort of the strengthening of Trump's base and sort of the invigoration into the campaign ever since that attempt, I think that that's something that I said has become very symbolic for the Republican Party. And I think losing Pennsylvania in that way would be kind of a blow to their narrative of wanting to triumph over that assassination attempt. So there's no way that either candidate's going to give any ground here.
Kristen, thanks for joining us today. Listeners can keep up with this story and more at thecentersquare.com.